I love Shakespeare, but I also love Katsuhiro Motoma's work. Both of them are great artists, but one is taught in colleges and one isn't. Why is that? Anime can inspire creativity and encourage the development of critical thinking skills through its rich narratives and intricate character development. Universities have an ivory tower mentality, so they hesitate to teach anime because of the perception that it lacks academic rigor compared to traditional subjects. Bridging the gap between different forms of written literature and animated media, anime has the same laudable themes of overcoming adversity and speak to the human condition. But both of my parents, who are college professors, do not see it that way. They look down on anime. In order to combat this, my brother and I snuck into the professor's office and turned it into our podcast studio and filled it with manga and other anime items. So please, join me and my brother as we try to convince our father, the professor, that authors like Akira Toriyama and other authors like that are worthy to be taught in college, and that anime is, in fact, literature.
Dude, I'm not gonna freaking lie, bro. I am out of energy.
Well, that's what it's going to do to you nowadays. If you're going to start college and then do this with me, it's going to take a lot of energy.
I'm so lethargic. It's not even funny.
Well, that's good for you.
How?
In a good way. Well, at least
I don't even think that this podcast is draining my energy. It's a research to try to beat him. Last time, I'm just gonna admit it, I got my butt kicked. Last time, dude, he wiped the floor with me.
That's not what I saw.
I barely hung on there.
I mean, I was entertained.
I guess that's guess I'm kind of like the negative side of a Lincoln Douglas debate here. You know.
I never
can't really prepare because the conversation can go anywhere.
Anywhere. A lot of paths you can take.
Yep.
I thought you were dad. Don't do that again.
What's you doing?
Stuff. Lots and lots of stuff.
What kind of stuff?
Special stuff.
Did you get dad?
Yeah, you want to sit here?
I got dad.
Okay.
Talk to me for a minute.
Why?
What do you mean, why? I'm very interesting.
You are, but I hardly doubt that you'd argue with us about anime.
Yeah, probably not. But, so I saw some things on YouTube. Did you stick something on YouTube?
I didn't. He did.
Did you ask?
No.
Well, was it fun to stick it on YouTube?
Yep. I mean, we have a few subscribers already.
One of them is me.
Oh.
Of course. This is really cool. So what are you going to argue with your dad about today?
Well, it's a surprise, but it's mainly social commentary and how
It's good for you.
how him categorizing anime and manga is more of a subjective categorization than anything else.
So what?
I'm going to argue Lichtenstein and William Hogarth. I got some beef on them.
But if it's digital humanities, I'm the digital humanitarian.
Like I said, I don't think you want to argue anime.
No, but I like hanging out.
I didn't say I didn't like hanging out with you. I'm just so drained. I don't know why. I think it's me doing all this research.
Research
There we go.
Let's go back to it. Research is good for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Good luck, boys.
Sorry about the surprise. No, it was supposed to be next Saturday, but found some interesting points.
No, that's fine. I had fun last time. It was interesting. I just have one quick question. You stuck this on YouTube, huh?
Don't look at me. He did it.
Dude, shouldn't you kind of ask before you do that?
No, not really.
Why not? You didn't tell me you're going to stick this on YouTube.
It's my YouTube channel. It's good for me.
Here.
You left your phone in here.
Okay, I'll answer that later. Okay. Here, just throw it over there. I don't want it. Okay, so what are we doing now? It's actually kind of exciting. I have no idea what you want to talk about.
Well,
because I thought we were saving that. You said this Saturday we're going to talk about solo leveling. I've read actually the first 3 books. And I thought it was actually kind of fascinating that you wanted to do a Nietzschean interpretation of it, and it makes complete sense going through the first one. Now, I have my critiques and criticisms, but I thought it was interesting at least. So, I mean, are we doing that now?
No, I just found some extra points I wanted to point out.
Okay, points about what?
Well, first, what you gave last time about manga and anime, how you categorize it, I saw that more as a subjective categorization than anything else.
What do you mean by subjective categorization?
I mean, well, put it to you this way. You criticized how the art looked cartoonish, right? It looked cartoonish.
Anime is cartoonish.
Mm-hmm. Therefore, it can't like hold any social commentary or stuff like that, right? Well, Lichtenstein's art was cartoonish, wasn't it?
Okay, we're going to jump in. So, no, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't get it. First of all, actually, I'm a little bit more cool with this. What's going on? I think I see what you're doing. It's actually a little fun. I'm not quite sure with your question. Are you asking me I think we brought up last time that there's a lot of academia that's stuck into definition and modes and modules and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that's done. Some very intelligent people come together and try to create categorizations of areas of study, because whether you like it or not, the way that universities or colleges are structured has to be delivered at a module kind of level, right? So, for instance, if you're studying literature, they try to break it up into pieces, and these are some intelligent people that are making them into those pieces, right? And so when you study a certain area like Shakespeare, it's usually in the context of the Elizabethan era, typically when it comes to the reign of monarchs, typically when it comes to some of the social political things that are going on, this idea that there's these good ideas and amazing narrative descriptions that are being made by Shakespeare, and that literature is the delivery of making those social commentaries.
Well, let's veer away from the Elizabeth period, right?
Go wherever you like. I don't care.
Romantic period. William Hogarth. Sequential art.
William Hogarth isn't a romantic.
Yeah, he is.
He is?
Yeah.
He's in the romantic period?
Yeah, that's what I got for him.
Okay, well, I'm not an expert on William Hogarth. It's kind of hilarious. I can't help but make this connection, David, because I know you stuck this together. But Iron Giant is up there, right? Yeah. I love the Iron Giant cartoon. It's a fantastic cartoon. I remember seeing it with you as a kid. I see it with your siblings as a kid. But the character in Iron Giant is, what's his name?
Hogarth Hughes.
Hogarth Hughes. So whenever anyone says William Hogarth, I always think of the guy, the detective going, hug, for something when he sees the gun. For some reason, I'm just seeing Iron Giant and you're saying William Hogarth, and I can't help but conflate both of them. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. What's your point?
So, manga's kind of sequential art, right?
Yeah, manga sequential art. Well, wait. Manga sequential storytelling with visual images, right?
Still art, though.
Right, that can be discussed.
So, but William Hogarth also did sequential art.
Wait. Before we get there, let me ask you this question. Are you trying to tell me that all manga is art? All manga. So right now, if I write a manga together with stick figures, you consider that to be art?
If it's telling a story, yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't want to take away from your point. Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is William Hogarth, right? He did sequential art, and that's considered literature. Over a series of 8 paintings, one is called a Rake's Progress, right? A series of 8 paintings. He tells a story about like a man, aristocrat, who slowly just
starts out with inheritance. He gets an inheritance, right? And he ends up in the slum, right?
Yes.
He finds himself in a bordello.
And he didn't just do this once. He did it multiple times. Another one that I personally like because of the name is called Marriage a la Mode. Started in 1743 all the way to 1745.
I'd be in a better mood doing this kind of stuff if we had like ice cream and pie while we did it,
I mean, I could cook a steak if you want.
Yeah, right. But I don't think the smacking in the mic. I'm doing my best not to ASMR this thing, So, okay, I'm sorry. I'm going on divagations right now. You kind of caught me off guard like you did last time. Okay, go ahead. Go.
So, William Hogarth, sequential art, did it more than once. Sequential art. Would you consider that literature?
From what I remember of studying William Hogarth briefly, I think we studied him around the period of the Restoration period. I could be wrong. This isn't my area, but I don't know. I think the qualifying it as sequential art came later. I don't think he meant to do it as sequential art. If what I remember, and I could be corrected, I'm sure you've looked in this more than I have, but he just did one painting and continue on with the same theme of that painting, correct?
But the theme is telling a story.
Right, but he almost like fell into it. He did it, once again, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I don't know if William Hogarth wrote it with the intention for it to be a sequential storytelling. I think he did one piece within itself, and then he decided to do another piece, which was just an extension, and before he knew it, it was a sequential progress that you can consider to be a sequential art.
Okay, he titled all of them. First one was The Heir, second, The Levee, third one, I'm not going to say, the fourth one, The Arrest, and the fifth one, The Marriage, then The Gaming House, The Prison, and The Madhouse. All of them, the first one, it has a young boy in a house getting dressed. A bunch of butlers and maids surround him as he's getting dressed. The second one is he's walking through a fancy hall. There's some paintings in the background and what looks to be his dad. The third one I'm going to skip. Then The Arrest. The kid looks like he's getting arrested now, but he's no longer a kid, more of a man. Same character. Now, The Marriage, same character, more grown up. You can tell by his face. He looks more mature, and more maids and butlers surround him. But
this is the weakness of your argument that you're not. Well, I'm going to try to explain, but you're not getting. Is that the reason why William Hogarth is considered to be an artist or in storytelling literature, even if we accept visual imagery as literature, is because in himself he was extraordinary. You can grab one piece of his series, just that piece in itself, and it can hang in a museum. Just that piece. And it just so happens there's a sequence of gorgeous artistic pieces that happen to tell the story. The motivation of the storytelling that's there isn't being driven by visual mediums. Once again, I'll go back to my example. If I do a sequence of stick figures and put them together one by one, just by the nature of it doesn't make it literature or doesn't make it art. And I'm saying, okay, I'll give an example. Solo leveling, grab any sequence within solo leveling, put it down on the table, and then compare it to William Hogarth. You're going to say that they're the same?
Yeah, it's telling a story.
There's a difference in quality, bro.
Doesn't matter quality. It doesn't matter quality. It's still a story. There's a story behind it.
Well, you're making the argument right now that just that anything that's told, just by justifying that William Hogarth was told as sequential art, then justifies all sequential visual productions to be art?
Repeat that, please.
Okay, so you're almost making the argument that just the method of calling something sequential art then all of a sudden elevates it to high art. I'm saying the individual submission of William Hogarth's visualization makes him a master, not the fact that he structured it as sequential art.
I'm not arguing if he's a master. He is a master of his work, period.
Right.
I'm arguing that it's sequential art. He meant to tell it in a form of a story. I don't know too much about William Hogarth. I just looked into the sequential art about him. I don't know if he couldn't write. I don't know if words didn't form right.
Okay, let me make this point really quick. Solo leveling, the art production is lowbrow compared to William Hogarth. If all of a sudden you get some bubblegum, artistic representation of cartoons, never will you get a cartoon with it's almost like saying with a zow, wow, pop kind of stuff that will equate to high art. You're not going to get the social commentary. You're not going to get the high form of critical thinking. You're not going to get the literary analysis. It's just not going to be there. Comparing William Hogarth to solo leveling is almost like a disservice in itself. And the argument for sequential art doesn't automatically make it art.
That brings me back to the first point I made. When you first sat down, a few minutes into the conversation, who did I bring up? I brought up a single artist. Who?
Who? I have no idea.
Lichtenstein.
Who's Lichtenstein?
The artist. Lichtenstein is an artist what's the word? Heavily influenced social commentary through works of art that looked like cartoons.
What period are we talking about here? Because I know the country Lichtenstein, but like
around 1943.
Okay, 1943.
So 20th century.
Okay.
Early 20th century. Around then, an artist named Lichtenstein made some art pieces that heavily influenced social commentary. One of which was Wham. Its name is a literal onomatopoeia, but it's
Okay, tell me. Let's make sure we're on the same page. What do you mean by onomatopoeia? Like the art itself is what?
Cartoonish, but it's...
Now, how can you have a piece of art that's onomatopoeia?
No, I said the title of it. The title of it is a literal onomatopoeia. If you look up Lichtenstein Wham, it will come up. The art piece is called Wham, an onomatopoeia.
So you're telling me that there's like an art piece that looks like a cartoon that says the word wham?
Yeah, and it's one of his most famous ones.
Okay, so what makes Lichtenstein so famous and so well known?
Lichtenstein not only just used onomatopoeia in the title, but he used it as a social commentary.
Okay, how can you have an onomatopoeia as a social commentary?
He uses it as for a representation for American consumerism.
Okay, explain that further.
What
do you mean by having wham, the onomatopoeia wham, as a form of social commentary for American consumerism?
Wait, let me pull it up. Lichtenstein's Wham. Okay, here we go. Lichtenstein's Wham is literally a plane shooting another plane. The thought bubble of, I press the fire control and ahead of me, rockets phase through the sky, blowing up another plane, and it labeled Wham above it. The title of it is called Wham.
Okay, just because you're saying that Lichtenstein, through his comic book art or whatever, his onomatopoeia art, is making a social commentary doesn't mean, like, okay, so I don't even know how I still don't get how he's making a social commentary. Can you explain that to me, please?
Hey, I have it right here. This is from a reliable source. The relationship between pop culture and the art movement reflects and critiques social trends and consumerism behavior.
Okay, so Lichtenstein is he's making a social commentary about consumerism. So what? I can write something about American consumerism. That doesn't mean that it's worth much, dude.
The last thing he sold, the last art painting, $165 million.
What? Dude, how much was it?
$165 million.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Really?
165 followed by 6 zeros, bro. There's also 2 commas in that number, by the way.
Okay, fine.
So I guess we could say that the art community can determine value, right?
Yeah, I guess. And I guess someone values that. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I can't respond to this well because I don't know much about Lichtenstein. I'll have to go look him up.
Okay. Well, then how about we go to a topic you know about?
I'm fine.
Tell me the story.
Last topic. After this topic, I gotta go.
Okay. Tell me the story about the Lucy poems.
You mean Wordsworth?
Yeah, the Lucy poems.
Well, dude, what about the Lucy poems? What, you want me to read them to you?
No, I don't want you to read them. I have some notes here. Well, put it to you this way. I want you to tell me this specific story. You told this to us around 2 weeks ago about this one conversation you had with your professor about what you call it? Subjective.
Oh, you're talking about Coleridge, Wordsworth, and Wordsworth's sister Dorothy. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the Lucy poems.
Why? What does telling that story have anything to do with what we're talking about?
Well, one, it has to do with social commentary. Not social commentary, subjective categorization. How, like, off of not that much evidence, they said he had you know what for his sister. Come on, tell the story, man.
Okay. There's a series of poems called the Lucy Poems. It's more like an anthology that Wordsworth stuck together. On the top of my mind, I don't remember all the poems.
You want me to read them to you really quick?
Just the titles.
Okay, yeah. One is Strange Fits of Passion I Have Known. She dwelt among the untrodden ways. I traveled among unknown men. 3 years she grew in sun and shower, and a slumber did my spirit seal.
Right, if I remember, this was done from 1798 to 1800. I think Wordsworth described them as experimental. What ended up happening is there's a series, like lyrical ballads, there's a series of poems that Wordsworth wrote. And in the series of poems, there's like this sequence of poems about this unknown woman, Lucy, that no one knows who she is, right? And so you're referring to that time. I told you the story that I was in a class. It was during my PhD. We're covering Wordsworth, Coleridge, interesting, really interesting writers. We were reading Prelude. It's a great poem. Anyone there really wants an amazing poem? Or Ode of Intimation of Immortalities from Recollection of Early Childhood. Gorgeous poem by Wordsworth. But we were studying it, and my professor made the argument that there may have been a possibility that Wordsworth had incestual feelings with his sister, Dorothy. And the reason why is because, and I actually argue it against this, because the reason why is because they grabbed those Lucy poems that Wordsworth never said was to his sister. He never said they were to his sister. But they got those poems, stuck them in a collection, so other academics grabbed those poems, stuck them together, even though they weren't sequentially written together, named them the Lucy poems, and then I don't remember the letter, but there was a letter by Coleridge that pretty much says, I think one of the poems are about his sister. I don't remember the quote directly, but it's like one of them are about his sister. So all the poems about Lucy are about his sister. And some of those poems about Lucy are pretty incredibly romantic. I mean, I can find you the primary source if you want about when he wrote about, a Coleridge's letter. But
I got the letter right here. Here, let me find it. Right here. My source is Modern Language Association, right? The author of this article, Richard E. Matlark. Okay? He says, a slumber as a most sublime epitaph, whether it had any reality, I cannot say. Most probably in some gloomy moment.
Wait. Is this the author talking, or is this Coleridge's letter? This is Coleridge talking. Right?
Yeah, and this
is Coleridge's letter. Okay, I got it.
Thomas Poole.
I thought you were talking about an academic. Okay, go ahead and read. I got it. The Thomas Poole letter.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Go ahead, read.
Do you want me to restart or
No, just read what Coleridge says. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Whether it had any reality, I cannot say. Most probably in some gloomier moment, Wordsworth, had fancied the moment in which his sister might die.
That's exactly the letter. I can't believe you found that. That's exactly the letter. So we're having this discussion with the professor, and the professor's making the argument that there were incestual feelings between Wordsworth and his sister. And I started doing my research in class and looking, and I remember this letter to Thomas Poole. So I pull it up and I read it to him so let me get this straight. You're making the argument that Wordsworth had an possible incestual relationship with his sister because of this poem to this unknown woman. Academics then grab these poems that is disparate throughout lyrical ballads, put them together as an anthology, and call them the Lucy poems. Then you find a letter by Coleridge that he's writing to Thomas Poole saying, I can see in Wordsworth's gloomier moments for this one poem, he could have been considering his sister. And it was one poem that had to do with the death of someone that he cared about. So from that conclusion, I said to my professor, you can make the argument that it was incestual. You guys you stuck together the anthology. You're the one who grabbed the poems over a period of 2 years and put them together. You created the characterization. Then you find one general reference from Coleridge, who had a lot of conflict with Wordsworth to begin with, and then you make the conclusion that it could be incestual. I looked at it and I'm like, that is so irresponsible. And you know what my professor said? He's like, that's true. But if we don't follow this argument, we don't have anything to talk about today.
And there was one line. You said it 2 weeks ago. I remember it. One line came after that. What was it? Just go with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then, the professor, I went and talked to him later, and I'm like, I don't like this. It's a almost dishonest, false accusation to say Wordsworth had ancestral. There's no proof. And he's like, just go with it. Yeah, it affected me. I didn't like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm telling you now, this entire journey of this channel, just go with it, okay?
But I didn't like it when my professor said it.
Well, now it's your son saying it.
I don't like it when you say it either.
And I apologize.
I don't need you to apologize. It is true. It's true. Even at the highest academic levels, there are aspects of subjective interpretation, no question. There are some dishonest, I hate it. There's two things. So, I have my doctorate in history. I have my degrees in literature. I teach English. I teach history. I teach a lot of different classes. There are two things that I really, really detest when it comes to academic integrity. And they're both really found in history. The first one's called the historian's fallacy. The historian's fallacy is that people can critique and criticize historical figures now that we know the result. I was sitting down one time with one of my professors, and my professor was writing an article about Verdun and the attack on Verdun during World War I, about how the French charged the German lines. And I was criticizing one of the commanders like crazy. I'm like, what an idiot. He didn't know what he was doing. He sent so many men to the death. And I was sitting down in Applebee's with my professor, eating cheese sticks and having a meal. And he looked at me, he's like, David, your entire analysis is correct. It's correct, but you're forgetting something. He's like, you're sitting down here in Applebee's with me, enjoying a meal, having a Coke, having a good time, and you're criticizing a commander that had been in the trenches for 4 months. He had foot rot. He had PTSD. He was walking over the corpses of his friends. And then he had to make a decision. And he's like, that's the historian's fallacy. It's like you have no idea the decision you would have made in that situation. A second thing within history that I detest, it's a logical fallacy, is called presentism, and it's now invading academia. And presentism it's actually a logical fallacy. The Latin is nunc pro tunc, this for then. That with the current prosperity and comfort that we have in our country, of all the things that we have that are beneficial, to then look back to other societies and other times and provide moral judgment to them. You can't do that. We have all these technological benefits. We have all of this kind of like medical advancements. We have a house with AC. I mean, I can go down the street right now and get a hamburger for like $2 and get 300 calories. We don't know hunger. We don't know starving. We don't know pain. And yet from our perception of prosperity, we criticize like other cultures and other periods. And it's not right. Presentism isn't right. And I get your point. I didn't want to come in here. Oh, actually, I kind of want to come in. I was fascinated about this process now that I realized this is what you're doing. And I appreciate you bringing me in on this. But I kind of get the point. The point is that maybe from my perception of what I think education in a university should be, and education, whatever it may be, that I'm criticizing the next form of artistic expression, of social commentary, of literary production. And sometimes that's just hard to recognize.
I thank you for being here, and I understand that too in somewhat way. I mean, I didn't want to do this either when David came up to me with the idea. But now, after this, kind of hope that when we go on Saturday for solo leveling and Nietzsche, that analysis, you don't come in with a cynical approach, you know?
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. It's hard to cover Nietzsche and not be cynical. But anyway, this is fun. I'll do more conversation, and then we'll take it from Saturday. Okay, son? Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to get going. I have something to get to. I look forward to talking to you Saturday.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for checking out my channel. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button, like, and share the video for more. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit the notification bell for more videos when they're uploaded. And so we can show our father that anime is worth his time.